This is a story about success born of adversity. Israel is known as the startup nation because of all the successful tech companies it has hatched, accounting for more than 1/2 of the country's annual exports.
There are more Israeli companies listed on the NASDAQ than any country in the world outside of China and the United States and maybe Japan.
One might have thought that the Israeli tech juggernaut would slow down during the nation's war against Hamas, but it turns out that it's done the opposite. Since the war began in 2023, Israeli high-tech companies have raised more money than ever, some $15.6 billion in 2025, up from $12.2 billion in 2024.
The entire tech sector, despite war, has actually grown considerably. Record number of exits this year. For instance, Google made its largest acquisition, not just of an Israeli company, but its largest private acquisition of any company in its history for over $30 billion, where it bought the cloud security company Wiz in the middle of this post-October 7th attack on Israel.
Dan Senor is the author of Startup Nation and The Genius of Israel, and hosts the Call Me Back podcast.
Israel's number of exits from the tech sector in 2025 will be about 300% higher than 2024. In the defense tech sector, which is an area of considerable growth, there were some fewer than 300 defense tech startups on October 6th, 2023. In terms of the number of startups, the amount of private funding coming into Israel, and then the number of exits, it's all kind of multiples higher than we've seen in a couple of years.
Israel's tech sector has become one of the largest in the world, accounting for 17% of the country's GDP, compared to 13% for South Korea, 10% for the United States, and less than 5% for the EU.
So for some time now, Israel has been punching above its weight, highest density of multinationals that have set up operations in Israel. Countries that don't set up R&D shops outside of the United States anywhere in the world, and they're setting them up, many tech companies in Israel. So for some time now, Israel has been what we call the startup nation, this innovation ecosystem that much of the world is depending on. The big changes most recently is more and more cooperation with the Gulf states, some in very public ways like the UAE and Bahrain, some in not so public ways like Saudi Arabia, where you're seeing more and more investment from these countries into the Israeli tech ecosystem because they realize to really thrive, they need to co-innovate with another tech ecosystem.
There's 450 multinationals that have set up shop in Israel. So when you talk about the maturity, it's not just the companies, it's the overall ecosystem has become so powerful because we've all been working together and figuring out how to develop things that benefit Israel and the world through this ecosystem.
Razin is the Chief Strategic Officer at OurCrowd, an online investment platform based in Israel that connects investors from around the world.
We've set up at OurCrowd a super interesting fund, which is a three-part fund, or what we call the Tripont Fund, between the U.S., Israel, and Korea for not just developing or designing deep tech, but being able to produce it in partnership with strong partners in Korea and in the U.S.
And why Korea particularly?
So Korea is a super energetic, highly technologized ecosystem and economy to begin with. It's less well known because it's somewhat insular. At the same time, though, the U.S. looks at Korea as an incredibly strategic ally. There's all sorts of crossovers for our goals and our capabilities among the three countries where we really see that union as being incredibly powerful.
Israel is a good partner for the Korean startup ecosystem because they are very known for the startup nations.
Hyun Kim is the CEO of NH Ventures, a subsidiary of Nong Hiep Financial Group. In July, NH joined forces with OurCrowd to create an $80 million fund to invest in Israeli startups.
In Korea, we have a lot of interest about the technology in Israel, but we don't have a lot of chance to visit each other and how to communicate each other. Fortunately, we can establish the venture fund between Israel, OurCrowd, and NH. That makes a lot of information flow from Israel to Korea and Korea to Israel. We think Israel can be the good partner to support expand the Korean startup, go to the US market. And Israel also, they can find a good partner to manufacturing. Korea can provide good quality and reasonable price.
Israeli tech startups run the gamut, from defense to cybersecurity to biotech to AI. But whatever the technology, it often traces back to Israel's mandatory military service.
The military is sort of a bedrock of all Israeli innovation because of a couple of things. One is there are many really fascinating technologies that are both defense in nature, but also civilian in nature that are brought up through the military. And the other, less spoken about, but highly impactful, is the incredible development of leadership and teamwork that happens in the military. And those teams and those leaders transition into roles leading civilian companies. We invest in defense companies, certainly, and cyber, but most of our investments are not. Most of our investments are in things that are commercial or civilian use.
Has that line between civilian and defense become blurred as we talk about dual use?
Absolutely. So we see that all the time now, both because some inventions are inherently dual use and because many of the entrepreneurs are seeing a real opportunity now to serve the incredibly impactful defense needs that are experienced not only in Israel, but all around the world for the reasons that we all understand.
So perhaps it should come as no surprise that the onset of the war also opened a new front for startup technologies, including those that may have been developed for civilian or dual use.
From day one, we wanted to bring innovation to the battery sector, the battery industry. We wanted to integrate our technology into every battery in the world. That's still our vision. But I think the vision is now even bigger as we see the potential in other markets.
Adionics CEO Moshiel Biton saw a clear potential for growth for his battery parts company once the Israel-Hamas war started.
It's not where we wanted to deploy our technology, or if you'll ask me what were our vision or dream, is not to be on the defense sector. But we understand now that this is also on obligations, this is our service. That's one of the things that actually shifted and changed during October 7.
War is never a good thing, and the Israel-Hamas war has been particularly horrific, starting with the attacks on Israeli civilians and followed by the devastation of much of Gaza.
Most of the investors, they were empathy and lots of supports, and asked how we actually manage, and when we ask if we need anything. Of course, there were investors that were silent, and some investors even ask direct questions about the situation, the war, and sometimes it felt a bit awkward when, some foreigners blaming you on things that are not in your control. A private company, business company, are not part or represent any government, and they are blaming you.
The war definitely had impact in terms of which companies essentially were newly created, or like we discussed, where they leaned into in terms of their customer base or defense use cases. We also did see through the war investors sort of, in some cases, take a little bit of a step back mostly because of optics, not because of anything substantive. And now that the war is over, I'll tell you that we've seen this huge pickup in foreign investor interest in Israel. So in the last few weeks, I personally have hosted Japanese, Korean, and I'm about to host a Taiwanese delegation. Minutes before you and I joined this call, hosted a large group of Canadian entrepreneurs here in our office. So what we're seeing is a real pickup in foreign investor comfort with investing in Israel.
Out of adversity has come at least some success for the startup nation, success involving businesses from halfway across the world.
I think most important thing is Israel always try to go global because their domestic market is not so big. In Korea also need to expand their market horizon to the global market. But they have their own strength point. We try to combine those strength points. We can raise the global success. It's a very physically separated, but our idea with the NH investments and OurCrowd is making same thing. So that is very important thing. Israel and Korea also have a very good relationship with the US.
We need to be opening up cooperation with Israel. So that was already starting to happen before October 7th. And then obviously since October 7th, you've seen this incredible flourishing in ways that were completely unexpected in areas related to defense tech and cybersecurity that has just gone to another level. So many of those same players, the Gulf states in particular, want to piggyback onto Israel's strength in these areas even more because they've seen how successful Israel has been. And then this startup nation that was buzzing long before October 7th, 2023 continues to do so.